we are going to be dividing decimal numbers instead of whole numbers. And to do that, you have to be able to think in unit form. So here are some fluency practice problems to help with that. 6/10 divided by 3. That is equal to? Well, the 6 divided by the 3 is 2, and our units are right here as tens. 6/10 divided by 3 equals 2 tenths. That's the same thing as 60 divided by 3 equals 20. Daniel, 2 tenths is correct. And now I want to show that to you in decimal form. That's 0.2, showing it's less than 1. There's nothing in the ones place. This is the ones place. So the only value is to the right of the ones place, and that means the total value of the quotient 6/10 divided by 3 equals 2 tenths is a number to the right of the ones and the right of the decimal. 6/100 divided by 3. This is going to be 6 divided by 3 equals 2, and the units are hundredths. As a decimal, it looks like this. 0.0 in the tenths place, and the 2 goes into the hundredths place. That's the one right after the tenths place. Let's try 9 thousandths. Divided by 3. Nine divided by 3 equals 3. The units are thousandths. As a decimal, that is written 0.0 in the tenths place, 0 in the hundredths place, and the 3 finally shows up in the thousandths place.
Wow.
We're going to do some renaming now. I'll say a number, and you state it as you write it. So I'm going to say it. I'm not going to write it yet, but then you write it. 1/10. No, I guess I can write that.
Yeah, right.
Give me a thumbs up to your chest when you tell me how you would write this as a decimal number. Yes, Francisco. Yeah, 0.1. (11/10). Just write the decimal. You don't need to write 11/10, just write the decimal number. Mercedes? Yes, it is 1.1. 10/10 equals 1. And you have one more left. So it's 1.1. 19/10. Carlos? 1.9 is correct. There are 10/10 making up this 1, and the rest of the tenths are all in this 1/9. That 9 then goes into the tenths place. Remember what I've always told you, the last digit in the number is the one that gets the name. because this is 19 tenths, the 9 is the last number. It goes into the tenths place. .20. Kristen, do you have your hand up? What do you think it is? 2.0 will work well. The .0 does not change the total amount of this number. So you do not need to put the 2.0. You can leave it just as the number 2. .30. Write it first, please, before you raise your hand. .30. Bill say. 3.0, yes. So what is the value of the digit in the tenths place of 30 tenths? Jesus. That's not the one in the tenths place. Demetrio. 0. The value in the tenths place is 0. And because that value is 0, we do not need to write it. We can just leave 3.0 as 3.
Wow.
David, what do you think?
20.
It is 20.
Okay, Diego.
Let's do some division problems now with 2-digit divisors. The first example is 650 divided by 16. First step is to find the estimate. So we will start with some squiggly equal signs because it's almost or somewhere around 650 divided by 16 rounded to the nearest 10. Sergio.
20.
Yes, we'll use 20 right there. Because 6 is 5 or greater. We round that up to the next value of 10. I need somebody on this other side of the class for this. Raise your hand, please. What are we going to round 650 to make it easily divisible by 20? Okay, Justin? 660 is good. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe 640 would have been better.
Don't change it. Don't change it. No, don't change it.
No, I won't. We'll try it though. We're going to, well, let's finish the estimate first. So that's 660. Do this as a multi-step. Divided by 10, divided by 2. That equals 66 divided by 2 equals 33.
Oh, no.
Oh, look, we ended up with a 2-digit. So let's go down and do the solve. The solve step for 650 divided by 16. What I did here were both of those estimate steps that I taught you to do yesterday at once. Eventually, you will get to the point where you're working like that. So the first thing we're going to use, the first quotient number we're going to use is the number in the tens place of our estimate. That will go into the tens place, above the tens place in our division problem. So the quotient number 3 is in the tens place. Now we multiply the divisor by that to find out what our next remainder is. 3 times 6 is 18. Carry the 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus the 1 is 4. 8 cannot be taken away from 5. There's not enough there, so we have to borrow from this 6. We will take one of the 6 and leave it as a 5, and then that brings 10 units over to the 5. That makes it 15, and 15 minus 8 equals 7. And now 5 minus 4 equals 1. And we find we already have a problem. compare our remainder to our divisor.
Yes.
That means we can get an extra group out of this.
So it's 4.
It is. So
What
it's
about
4.
the 0? What about the 0?
It doesn't matter. We don't go that far yet. We need to get this so that it is less than the divisor. Our remainder must be less than the divisor. So erase 4. Now 4 times 6 equals 24. Carry the 2. 4 times 1 is 4 plus the 2 equals 6. That leaves us, after we subtract, with 1 as our remainder. Now we bring down the 0. We cannot make any groups of 16 out of 10. So that leaves us with a 0.
It's 10. Wow.
Your remainder is going to be 10. Does anyone need for me to do the multiplication of the zeros? No? You all think that you know what's going to happen next? In the real world, next you have 0 times 6 equals 0 and 0 times 1 equals 0, and then we subtract one more time. And that's where our remainder comes from. Remainder 10. Yes, check. 40 is the quotient that we will first multiply by 16. We're going to have to do a side problem on that because I can't easily do a problem like 40 times 16 sideways. 6 times 0 equals 0, 6 times 4 equals 24. You should be doing this, David. 0, 1 times 0 equals 0, and 1 times 4 equals 4. Now, we add these two together. 0, 4.
Oh,
Oh, that's what happens now. Absolutely.
Yes, Justin.
Thanks, Justin. 640. Now we add to that the 10. Now that should be easy enough. 640 plus 10 is 650. There is the dividend. That's called the dividend. That's the whole that we're making groups of 16 from. The next problem is 740 divided by 32. Oh, David, I need you to sit down. You're moving around and your behavior or actions right there are causing distraction. We'll begin with an estimate. That means that our equal sign is not equal, it's squiggly equal sign. Now this is what I need you to think of here. The problem that I have is I'm trying to do what I taught you to do in lesson 19, 20, and 21, which is get one estimate to handle the whole division problem. But these division problems have 2-digit quotients, so we need 2 estimates. The first estimate is going to be 32. How many groups of 32 can you make out of 700s? Well, 7 is a single digit, so you can't make any groups of 32 out of 7. But 74 is a different story. 74 tens divided by 32. Oh, no, 30. Now we figure out what the estimation. Yeah, what do you have, Jesus?
60.
60. That sounds good. Divided by 30. And I think we can agree that that is going to equal 2. So now we're going to do the solve step. Let's do the solve step here. That's going to be 740 divided by 32. I don't like where that solve is written. We're going to use this number now, and And this is in the tens place because we are only finding the estimate up to 74 tenths. So the 2 goes into the quotient in the tens place. Now we can do the multiplication from there. 2 times 2 equals 4, and 2 times 3 equals 6. Now by subtracting, 4 minus 4 equals 0, and 7 minus 6 equals 1, and we bring down the 0, how many groups of 32 can you make out of 100 ones?
3.
Yes. But let's look at it. Let's do an estimate first. Right here. So it's 100 divided by 32. We do another estimate. Oh. Well, that's okay. What do you round 32 to?
30.
30. And then what do you round the 100 to?
100.
100.
No, 100's not easily divisible.
90.
90. There we go. And that is going to give us the 3. So now we know what number to use as our next digit. We'll put the 3 here for our next digit. 3 times 2 equals 6, and 3 times 3 equals 9. Now when we subtract, we have a double borrow situation. This is not the easiest thing in the world, so it's something that many of you will want to follow along very closely to. Just watch and listen. 6 cannot be taken away from 0. And you cannot borrow from 0. So you have to borrow from the only place that has any value. That's the 1 in the hundreds place. When you borrow that, it leaves you with 0 hundredths. That is going to send 10 tens into the tens place. But we're going to use one of those tens in just a second. We're going to use it in the ones place. So you may as well just cross out the 0 and put a 9 in there. Because we're using one of them for the ones place. Now 10 minus 6 equals 4. And 9 minus 9 equals 0. So it's just 4. Your remainder then is 4. Now we'll do our check. It does not matter whether you put the 23 on top of the 32 in the standard algorithm for multiplication. But I tend to like to put the larger number on the top when I'm doing my check. Check. 23. And then just copy. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 0. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. Now we add. 6 plus 0 equals 6. 9 plus 4 is 13. 6 plus 1 equals 7. So it's 736 plus 4.
Yes.
So that makes it 740.
Yes.
The rectangular room measures 224 square feet. One side of the room is 14 feet long. What is the perimeter of the room? 224 square feet, 14 feet long. That's what we know so far. Let's try drawing this room. We'll draw a rectangle like this. I don't know if this is correct. It may actually be wider than it is long. But we're going to say that this is 14 feet. The area is 224 feet squared because it's the area. It's the measure of the length and the width. The question is, what is the perimeter? To find out the perimeter, we need to know the measurements of all 4 sides because the perimeter is the distance around an object. Can somebody tell me what I have to do to find this area? How did I find the area? What is the area formula? Does anyone have it memorized? The area of a rectangle? Yes, Justin.
Width plus length.
Not plus.
Oh, time.
Yes?
Length.
Yes, area equals the width times the length or the length times the width.
Oh, A equals L times that.
Now this goes back to algebraic thinking, something I'm going to repeat over and over. Anything you do on one side of an equation, you have to also do it on the other side of the equation. So in this equation, our area is 224 square feet. It is equal to the length of 14 feet times the width that is unknown. If I want to know what this is, I have to get this 14 feet to show up on this side of the equation so that it tells me what that equals. Because this is multiplied, the way to get rid of this 14 is by dividing by 14 feet. What's 14 divided by 14?
0.
1. Anything divided by itself equals 1. And 1 times anything is itself. What's going to happen when we finish this process is we're going to find out the actual value of this question mark right here. We divided a number on the right-hand side of this equal sign by 14. What that means we must now do is divide the other side by 14 feet. Not squared, sorry, by 14 feet. So what's our division problem? Our division problem is written like this. 224 feet squared divided by 14 feet. And what that's going to equal then is the width, or what we have here written here is the question mark. So let's find an estimate first. How many groups of 14 can you make out of 2 hundredths? Well, none. I keep asking that question, I know, but I want you to be able to see that those values are still there. So we're going to jump now to the tens place. How many groups of 14 can you make with 22 tens? 22 divided by, what are we going to round 14 to? To its nearest 10. Yes, Sergio.
10.
10, that's right, we're going to round it down. Oh, and this is an estimate, so sorry, I need to put little squiggly equals next to it. Now, what is the best estimate to round 22 to make it easily divisible by 10?
10.
20.
10.
20 divided by 10 is going to equal 2. So let's now do the solve step over here. 224 divided by 14, we're going to use this number, this estimate, in the tens place, because we are finding the estimate of 14 into 22 tens. 2 times 4 equals 8, and 2 times 1 equals, ooh, that doesn't work, does it?
No.
No, that won't work. Which means we have to try what? What number instead? 1. 2 was too high, we go to 1. That gives us 14 down here. Subtract. We cannot take 4 away from 2. So we need to borrow to get more value in that number. Borrow from there, that'll leave it with a 1. That'll give us 10 more. 10 plus 2 is 12. 12 minus 4 equals 8. And we'll bring down the 4. How many groups of 14 can we make out of 84? So we're going to do another estimate over here. So 84 divided by, we're going to round this to its nearest. Well, it's going to go to 10 again, huh? Well, let's see what happens with this. We round this. We're going to want to take this to what number to make it easily divisible by 10? 80 divided by 10 equals 8. But here's where we're going to have to use our judgment class. And all of you will need to think through before you just start writing numbers in here like I showed you before. When we multiply this by 8, it is going to end up larger than 84. That is for sure, because 8 times 4 is 32. That means you're going to get a 2 here, it's going to carry a 3, and 8 times 1 is 8, plus the 3 is 11. That'll give us a number that's way too large. So we need to downgrade it automatically to a 7. 7 times 4 is 28. And even that, 7 times 1 is 7, plus the 2, that's too large too. So we actually have to take it all the way down to a 6. Let's go to the 6. 6 times 4 is 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus the 2 is 8.
Yes.
We have a zeroed out division problem. There's no remainder.
I got it.
Well, that means that our width, we can remove that question mark now
Yes.
and replace the question mark with 16 feet. And that means that this measurement in our original picture is 16 feet. Now we know the length and the width. Now to find the perimeter, you have to add them, but then you also have to add the other two sides. That's also 16 feet. And this side is 14 feet. That's right. So we have 16 times 2. What's 16 times 2?
18. No. 24. 32. 34. 20.
Close. 32 is close. 36 is too much. No, 32.
I said that.
36, so 34. Did not say 32.
I said 32.
So that's 32. That and that is 32. Now what's 14 times 2?
24. 28.
28.
Yes. Who called me 7?
Now we'll add those together. We'll have all four sides added together. 8 plus 2 is 10. 3 plus 2 is 5. Plus 1 is 6. 60 feet. The perimeter of the room.
Now you're ready.
Oh, my finger.
Divided by 29. Start by finding the first estimate that we will use in the quotient of the solve step. So you think to yourself, how many groups of 29 can you make out of 6? Thousands. Well, that's only a single digit, so you can't make any of them. So you move to the next spot. That's the hundreds place. 29s divided, dividing 62. How many do you think we can make with that? Well, let's do an estimate on that. We know we can make more than one, so that's good. Let's go like this. 62 divided by 29. Let's round it to the nearest 10. 30, good. Now we're going to round this to, yeah, 60, because 60 is easily divisible by 30. And that will give us 2. Now we have something to go on. This is our first estimate. Now the solve we'll do right about here. And that's going to be 6,247 divided by 29. Now remember, we found out how many groups of 29 you can make with 62 hundredths. The number we got was 2. That is 2 going into the hundredths place. This is the hundredths place of our dividend. 2 times 9 equals 18. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 equals 4, plus the 1 equals 5. Now for the subtract, we have to borrow from the 6 because you cannot get 8 out of 2. You cannot subtract 8 from 2. So that become a 5. That'll give us 1 here. 12 minus 8 equals 4. Now we bring the 4 down. Now this is 44. Please give me a thumbs up to your chest if you can tell me what place value this 44 is in. What is the value of this 44? Yes, that's not the ones and zeros. It's the tenths. It's the tenths. We're doing another estimation now. 44 divided by, well, the same 30. We're repeatedly creating groups of 29 out of different divisors. If you look up here back at the objective, this part of the objective is being shown here. We are finding how many groups of 29, the divisor, we can make out of this first one. No, actually we're out of this one, but then we get a remainder. This is our first remainder, and we're going to find out, that's called the successive. The successive means the one after. The longer your dividend is, the longer the whole is, the more remainders you get, and the more times you have to do it. So you have to have some persistence, and that's what you're all learning to do. So 44 divided by the 30. We don't even have to go any farther on this estimation, do we? We know we're not going to make 2, because 2 times 30 equals 60. So it's only going to be 1. So we're going to try 1 in the tens place. So 1 times 29 equals 29. Now we subtract. We cannot take 9 from 4. 4 is too small to get 9 from it. So we have to borrow from this 4 and make that into a 3. And that puts 10 more into that place. 14 minus 9 equals 5. And 3 minus 2 equals 1.
15.
Now we bring down the 7. Now, David, what place value is that 157 in? That is in the ones place. That's right. We're going to do one more estimation here. One more estimation of 157 divided by 30. What are we going to round 157 to make it easily divisible by 30 now? 150. Good. 150 divided by 30. Let's do a multi-step on this. Please give me a thumbs up to your chest if your head is starting to see the quotient of these estimations without doing the multiple steps. Okay? All of you should be able to do this in the next couple of months. You don't necessarily have to be able to do it immediately, but in a while you will be able to do this. 150 divided by 10 divided by 3 equals 15, because this causes this to cross out. 15 divided by 3, and that equals 5. So that's going to be our final number to use in the quotient up here. 5 times 9 equals 45. 5, carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 4 equals 14. 7 minus 5 equals 2. And 5 minus 4 equals 1. And that is the remainder.
There's so much symmetry.
Yeah, that's why I always talk through all of my subtractions. I even say things like there are not enough in there to subtract. I will say it over and over because that's what you have to hear in your own head. It'll be your voice though, not mine. I can't remember my teacher's voices anymore, but I'm sure that's what they said to me that taught me how to subtract. You can never have too much knowledge. It has to be something else. Now we have to do the check. That's 215 times the divisor of 29. We can't do it sideways, can we? So we have to do it 215 times 29. 9 times 5 equals 45. 5 will carry the 4. 9 times 1 is 9, plus the 4 is 13. Carry the 1. 9 times 2 is 18, plus the 1 is 19. Now, 0. We need the 0 for the placeholder. 2 times 5 is 10. We carry a 1 up here. 2 times 2 is, or 2 times 1 is 2, plus that 1 is 3. And 2 times 2 equals 4. 5 plus nothing is 5. 3 plus nothing is 3. 9 plus 3 equals 12. Carry the 1. 4 plus the 1 is 5. So that is equal to 5,000. I forgot to add a 1. 9, 10, 11, 12. 4, 5, 6.
Yes!
Now, we'll take that, 6,235, and add the remainder of 12. 2 plus 5 equals 7. 3 plus 1 equals 4. And we just get the same 62. And that looks right.
Yes!
4,289 divided by 52. Let's just skip the whole how many 52s can you make out of 4,000s and go straight to how many groups of 52 can you make out of 4,200s? Can you?
How much could you?
It's not enough. 42 is not enough to get groups of 52 out of them.
So 400?
We have to go all the way to 428. And what's that value? What place value is that?
100.
Tens.
No!
Our first estimate, go ahead and have a seat. Let's go. Estimate
I bring it back.
is 428 divided by 52. So that's 428 divided by 52, rounded to the nearest tens, gives us 50. Now what can we turn 428 to make it easily? Say 420 won't work with 50.
430.
Yes. That's too high. Yeah. Not divided evenly by 50. 400 divided by 50. That's it. Yeah, my battery's dead.
Oh, my arrow setting.
So 400 divided by 50 is equal to 400 divided by 10 divided by 5. That is going to be 40 divided by 5, and that equals 8. So our first estimate in the solve step will be 8. 8 in the what place? Please give me a thumbs up to your chest if you can tell me what place in the quotient that 8 is going to. Thumb to your chest, not a head in the sky. A head in the sky.
But we're not in the sky.
Hand is up.
It's the air.
It's hand is just the air. It's hand is the air. This is the air.
Someone over here.
I'm in the air.
What place value does the 8 go into? What place in the quotient does the 8 go into?
It's the ultimate.
Daniel. Won't be the hundreds. Yes. The tens. The 8 is going into the tens first.
Oh, I see it.
Write out your division problem real nice and clean.
Is it hard? It is! I know me too! That's what we should say. I know.
Is that the same as before? I don't want to hear crumbling papers.
I don't have
No crumbled papers. And I've often told you, you never do math with a pen.
I'm growing.
8 minus 2 equals 2, 2 minus 1, 1, and then, yeah, so there's my problem.
a marker.
2,
Plus, look, I'm using a pen.
4,
Yeah, it's not a marker. You see, it's just that I painted it, you know.
the remainder of so that's 82 instead of 84 that we multiplied up here. 4, 2 times 8 is 16. 0, 10, 41. That's 4, 6, 2, 4. Now 4, 2, 6, 4 plus the 25. That's 9, 8, 2, 4. Now I'm going to try not to get this one wrong.
You just have 5 more minutes, so that's not very.
Yes, 7 more.
Okay, I have a deep breath. I can do it. Next problem, 6,649. Divided by 63. And we're already set. Look, we have how many groups of 63? Can you make that as 7? 7. You guys and Mikey, you're not helping me with your constant chatter. You guys are not making it any easier to explain this. And you are definitely giving examples of why it's so hard for teachers to teach you this math and why you have found it so difficult to learn it. The feedback loop that leads to destruction. We know that we can get one group of 63 out of 6,600. Let's start there in these solves. 6,649 divided by 63. Get one group out. Everybody needs to have that now, please. Justin. Now means at this moment, in this time, right now.
I have the hiccups.
We're going to multiply the 1 across, and that'll give us 63 to subtract from the 66 hundredths. That gives us 3. Then we bring down the 4. How many groups of 34 tenths? Whoa, there's still chatting going on up there. Quit. You cannot make any, because this is where many of you are just going to fall over and go, I don't get it. Because when you cannot make any groups of your divisor of 63 out of the remainder, and this problem is 34, you need to use a 0 in the quotient. A 0 in the quotient will then multiply across and give you 0, 0. And when you subtract 0 from the 34, your remainder becomes 34.
Oh no! Yes, I didn't write that.
Becomes 34. And your 9 then comes down. So you get 349 ones. Now we can do an estimate. Estimate 349 divided by 63 rounded to the nearest 10. 60. Now what can we round 349 to make it easily divisible by 60?
340.
330?
36.
Yeah, 330 will work.
330. Yeah, 330. No, 360. 330.
Oh, wait a second.
What
What do you divide 6 by to get 33?
320. That's too far.
6 times 6 is 360.
340.
340 won't work either. 300 would work.
360.
It might be. We will see. It's less than 60 away from what we have now, so it might very well work. So that is equal to 300 divided by 10 divided by 6, which is equal to 30 divided by 6 is equal to 5. Now we're going to use this 5 right here. 5 times 6 equals 15. Carry the 1. 5 times 6 equals 30. Plus the 1 equals 31. Subtract. 9 minus 5 equals 4. 4 minus 1 equals 3. So our remainder is 34. Now we need to check it because Mr. Buckman has not gotten a lot right today.
Yeah, that's true.
105 times 63.
105 times 6.
3 times 5 is 15. 5, carry the 1. 3 times 0 is 0, plus the 1 is 1. 3 times 1 equals 3. Now we put a 0 here. 6 times 5 equals 30. 0 will carry the 3. 6 times 0 is 0, plus the 3 is 3. 6 times 1 is 6. 5 plus nothing is 5. 1 plus nothing is 1. 3 plus 3 equals 6. 6 plus nothing is 6. 66, 15 plus the remainder of 34. 5 plus 4 equals 9. 3 plus 1 equals 4.
Oh my God. It's the first time.
It's the first time.
For the first.
Okay, great.